Hello everyone and welcome to another Star Wars figure review. Today we're going to take a look at one of the more recently released figures from the Black Series 3 3/4 inch line. This is a figure that had the potential to be absolutely superb, and it's just proven to be a massive letdown and a prime example of why Hasbro seem to get a lot of things wrong these days. If you remember back to Toy Fair 2014, we saw some images of some really cool looking Black Series figures. This guy was amongst them, and it looked set to be the definitive release of this character. He looked absolutely flawless, you know, the articulation was spot on, the deco, the accessories, everything about this figure looked fantastic, and many fans and collectors, myself included, couldn't wait to pick this guy up. However, once it made its way to store shelves and into the hands of collectors, we all found out that this figure just isn't what it was cracked up to be at Toy Fair, and Hasbro have really shot themselves in the foot with this one because they had, you know, potential to create a stunning figure, and it slipped through their fingers, and it's a huge disappointment, really. You know, I can't even get angry about this one because it's just so disappointing. It's not, you know, maddening, or, you know, it doesn't make me angry. It's just really sad. The figure itself is, of course, this one, Jedi Master Yoda. Now, upon first glance, he looks like a reasonable figure, you know, the sculpt doesn't look too bad. The accessories, yeah, they're okay as well, and the soft goods could be better, but will suffice. It's when we get underneath and into the nitty-gritty of this figure that it really becomes one of the biggest letdown in Hasbro collecting history. Really disappointing. Before I talk about all the pros and the many cons that this figure has, we're going to take a look at the packaging first. So I'll just zoom out of my rather big head at the moment. And here we go. This is the packaging. So once again, what we've come to expect from the Black Series, you know, the minimal design. Again, I've said this in previous reviews, once you've seen one Black Series card back, you've seen them all. You've got the Star Wars logo at the top, as well as an image of Yoda. Obviously from that image we can see that this is, of course, Yoda as he appears in The Empire Strikes Back, not in the prequels, as we've seen so many releases of that figure over time. On the reverse side, sadly, this is a European release, so we have the sticker covering up the character description and image from the film, but once again those are easily peelable, and you can see that underneath, although for time constraints and the purposes of this review I'm not going to do that now. One of my main issues with this figure is the fact that, you know, when he's sitting on store shelves, the bubble just looks very empty, and the accessories that this figure comes with far outweigh the figure itself. In my opinion, this figure should have been part of a 2-pack with the Dagobah Luke Skywalker that I'll be giving you a look at in my next video. You know, there's not really enough plastic here to warrant the £10 or $10 price point that these figures are retailing for at the moment. So that's the packaging. Now let's take a look at the figure. And here he is. As I said, upon first glance he looks acceptable. Doesn't look too bad. The head is not too shabby, you know, we've seen worse, but we've also seen better. Paint applications are reasonable, although this is one of those figures that you need to be careful of when you're in stores. You know, if there's a few of these figures sitting on the pegs, have a look through and make sure you get one with reasonable paint applications, because some of them can be a little bit off, especially around the eyes. As you can see, there's some nice painted textures in the hair. We've got some different shades and all the different layers there. The soft goods are probably not as good as they could be. They're made of a really nice material, which is good, although I would have preferred to have seen maybe some dirtier, or even sort of a similar material to the robes that were used on the original trilogy collection Yoda, if you remember back to that figure that was released in 2004. Those felt a little bit more realistic and not quite as heavy as this figure. Also, sadly, these robes are prone to a bit of wear and tear, and you get a lot of fraying around the edges. Some of it doesn't look too bad, some of it looks a bit realistic, but then others, it just looks weird, so not a big fan of that. As you can see, he is wearing a necklace, which is nicely sculpted for what it is. He comes complete with a belt, and of course, what would Yoda be without his famous walking stick, which can be slotted in the hand, very loosely I might add. And there we go. Yoda and his walking aid. As you can see, it does come with a belt as well, which can be removed. I'll show you that in just a second. Got some nice detail on there, very minimal detail that is. And of course, one of the main reasons, or at least one of my main reasons for picking up this Yoda figure, was of course to have him ride on Luke Skywalker's back, as per the scenes in The Empire Strikes Back. Not only do we get the bell, the necklace and the walking stick with this Yoda figure, but we also get that famous backpack from the film. I actually have it attached to the Luke Skywalker figure, so I'll show you that now. When I review this figure, I'm not going to give you a look at the figure with the backpack on. That's why I'm doing it in this review. So if you, if you're expecting to see Luke all kitted out in my next video, then sorry to disappoint. That's how he looks though, with the backpack in place. It is a little bit large and a little bit bulky, but I can understand why Hasbro have had to do that for the purposes of putting the figure inside there. As you can see, there's a buckle harness at the front which just clips together to keep it in place. You've got the straps reaching over the shoulders of Luke as well. And then of course with Yoda you can slot him in the back and recreate those famous Jedi training scenes from episode 5. So this is one of my main reasons that this particular Yoda figure should have been included as part of a 2-pack. You know, once you put Yoda with Luke, they look absolutely top notch. You know, a real double act, and this would have been great to have received in one package, especially for the price. You know, I would have really felt like I was getting my money's worth with this, but Yoda on his own, not so much. So there we go. That is Luke with Yoda. Very, very cool indeed. So now let's take a look at some of Yoda's finer, or not so fine details. Just lighten the screen up a little bit for you. There we go. As I said, the belt can be removed, and that just unclips at the back. It takes off like so. You do actually have to remove Yoda's head in order to remove the necklace, which just slots over the neck post like that. And then you can proceed to remove the soft goods robes. Now this is where the majority of the problems lie with this figure. As I said at the beginning of the review, these days we pay around £10 or $10 for these Black Series figures, so we expect, as the card back says, premium articulation and detail. That's very much lacking in this figure. There are 5 points of articulation to it, so essentially it's a glorified Saga Legends Mission Series figure. Yoda simply has a swivel neck, swivel shoulders and swivel hips. Now this is incredibly disappointing, especially when you consider the fact that the previously released prequel trilogy Yoda from the vintage collection was articulated to the eyeballs. You know, we had wrists, we had elbows, we had knees, ankles, everything on that figure. And it's all just gone with this one, which is a real shame. As I said, a lot of us were considering this Yoda to be the definitive release of Yoda from the original trilogy. We've been waiting over 10 years for it since the original trilogy collection, and it's just a massive, you know, they didn't even get this one out of the park. It didn't even reach the parking lot. It's really bad. As I said, when you pair him with Luke, you know, and the majority of the figures covered up, it's great, but as a standalone figure, and to get this in a, you know, a £10 or $10 price point figure packet, it's just a real slap in the face and a massive letdown. I'm not sure if you guys will have seen it as well, but there's been some concept art circulating on the web recently of you know, the prototype or the way this figure was going to be constructed. So all the joints and everything are broken down and showcased on this concept sketch. So that's really sad to see what this figure could have been, and it's even more disappointing to realise that we're probably going to have to wait another 10 years until we finally get another Yoda figure that is super articulated and a lot better than this one. So if you can live with your current versions of Yoda that you have in your collection, I would not recommend picking this one up, especially not for the price. It feels like a huge rip-off when you get him out of the packet. Don't get me wrong, the accessories that he comes with are awesome, and for me personally, it was worth it alone just to get the rucksack to put with Luke. Although, as I said, in an ideal world, all this should have been included as a 2-pack with Luke himself. So I am very disappointed and let down by Hasbro. I wouldn't encourage you to pick this figure up, but if you are looking to recreate the scene from The Empire Strikes Back, you're not going to have much choice because the figures that are out there already aren't that great. So there we go, swings and roundabouts and all that sort of stuff. You know, not a great figure. I don't know. It's just a huge letdown. I'm just very disappointed with this one. So not much more I can say. So I'll leave you guys to make up your own minds as to whether or not you want this Yoda figure in your collection. The more I show it you in this form, the more you're probably going to decide against it, but there we go anyway. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll be back to give you a look at the far superior Luke Skywalker figure in my next video. So stay tuned for that, and until next time, as always, keep collecting, and may the Force be with you.